Hey, Megan here. Thank you for joining me today. So continuing on our plant triage collection, I wanted to give you a little advice on what to do if you get yellowing leaves in your houseplants. This is a Calathea orbitfolio. I think I'll put the actual word down here, but it is a Calathea, and you can see I've got a couple of yellow leaves going on it, some with brown, and I want to give you a little idea of why this could be happening and how you can fix it if your plant starts to do the same thing. Now, Calatheas are pretty easy to care for. They're fairly idiot-proof. I found, except White Fusion Calathea, that's the one I always have the most difficulty with, but these kind that aren't really variegated and are mostly green, I seem to do okay with. But, you know, no matter how good intentions you have, sometimes, you know, your plants just start to get a little bit yellow. And there are a few reasons this could happen. Number one is too much water. It's actually called moisture stress. And what that is the roots of the plant are starting to just drown in too much water. And as a way to sort of save what they can to stay alive and not get too waterlogged, they'll start to drop unnecessary leaves. Like you can tell, the top ones of this are pretty good. This one's kind of, where's he? This one's kind of crimpy, but he's still okay. But it's the bottom ones, the underside, that is having the most difficulty. And that could be a reason why you start to see these kind of leaves, is if you're watering too much. And that's something that I suspect is part of the brown too, because you can see it's not crunchy. It's not like a crispy kind of watering issue. I think that it is more, it's not a crispy kind of thing. I think it has to do more with my watering. But another reason is that just it's normal aging. These plants, like us, get rid of the unnecessary in order to get the fittest of these survival leaves to flourish. And you can see again, like this plant, these are all ones that are hanging on the underside. They're of the, I guess, the canopy. The ones on top are okay. So what this could also be is that these ones just aren't necessary. And rather than using, diluting all the resources, the nutrients and, you know, all of that stuff, it's gonna get rid of the stuff that it doesn't really need in order to keep going. Now, another reason that this could be happening is due to drafts. And it's not even a cold snap or a hot snap or anything, but it's consistent cold air coming onto the plant. And this one is an indoor plant, but it is by a window, so that could be the reason, except I would suspect that the yellow leaves would be more on top that are directly getting hit by the cold air, if that were the case. Also, we got new windows, so if they're drafty, I'm gonna be pissed. Next is too little light. And why that would happen is a lack of resources. So if the plant is not getting enough sunlight to photosynthesize, it's going to start losing its ability to keep green. And if it doesn't have enough chlorophyll, I think that's how it goes. I'm not a scientist. This is just what I've been learning as I've been a plant hoarder. As it begins to lose the ability to photosynthesize, it starts to begin to fade and to lose its coloring. Like basically, if you stay inside and you just become a hermit, it's the same thing. Like you begin to get paler, you lose that pallor, and the plants do it too. So it could be a lighting issue. I don't think it's the reason this one is happening, but that could be. I would say if you're noticing this, maybe move it to a sunnier spot and give it a shot. Next reason would be nutrient deficiency. And again, this goes back to resources. If it doesn't feel like it has enough nutrients in its storage, or you know, that it's getting enough nutrients, fertilizer, sunlight, water, things like that, it's gonna start chopping off what it doesn't need. And I use chopping off, you know, relatively. It starts to cut on where it's going to put the resources, because it wants to have the most efficient resource management possible so that it can survive, and it's going to start cutting off on things that it doesn't need. Now, this guy I don't think is because of nutrient deficiency, but it could be a reason because, again, these leaves are the ones on the bottom, so they're sort of superfluous. They don't need to be there for the plant to survive. So it could be that the plant is just cutting resources or cutting allocation. And last is pests. If you get some mites, and pests tend to cause this to happen. I haven't seen any on this that I would suspect is the cause of this, but if you do start, like if you've done everything right and you're still getting these yellow leaves, check under the leaves, check the stems, check the soil, and see if you see any creepy crawlies around. It could be that. Now, what I'm going to do is cut these guys off and first test to see if it's just an aging issue, if it's just that these aren't necessary leaves and could go, and go from there. That is the lowest barrier of entry for, I guess, diagnosis and triage. So I'm gonna just cut them, leave it alone, and see if that helps. Now, these leaves, to be totally honest, I don't know if they could come back. I doubt it. I think that once the plant decides that these are expendable, that's it. They most likely aren't going to come back, especially the ones with the brown. The brown is always a sign that it's just done. So I don't recommend keeping yellow leaves on. They're most likely goners. So yeah, I'm gonna take this back upstairs, clip off the yellow leaves, and hopefully that'll make my guy happy. So I hope this was helpful. Leave a comment and let me know, and I will see you in the next video.